Greetings, guys. It's Fancy, and today we have a special segment entitled Politickin with SwagHer. It's not something that we do very often, but today we have with us the East Baton Rouge Mayor President Sharon. President Mayor Sharon Weston Broome. I have to get that correct. So, welcome, Mrs. Mayor. Should I say that? I should have asked that.
You could say Mayor Broome. You could cut it short and just Mayor Broome. It's Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. But thank you so much, Fancy, for having me today. I appreciate it.
And thank you for coming on. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with Mayor Broome. That sounds more formal, and yeah, I want to make certain that I keep it that way. Well, in some ways. So, guys, for those who may not know, I just want to do like a little quick disclaimer. So, Mayor Broome was one of my instructors at Southern University. So I don't want anyone to feel like I'm being biased or anything. I'm going to try to be as fair as possible throughout the interview, as well as I'm not certain if she's aware of it, but I actually live in the 70805 area code. So I have I think some good questions for you here. So first, though, before we begin, do you mind first telling the audience who you are?
Absolutely. As you shared, I've had the privilege of serving as Mayor President for the city and parish since 2017, was elected 4 years ago in 2016. And prior to that, I've had a very blessed and lengthy journey as a public servant, serving on the city council, then in the Louisiana legislature in both the House and the Senate. And so one of my life threads has been as a public servant. So beyond that, as you said, I've had the privilege of serving as an adjunct instructor at both the Southern University, LSU, and BRCC in the schools of communications or departments of communications there. So I've had a wonderful journey, and my motivation for doing what I do is, I believe, being connected to my purpose in life, which is to serve others.
Got it. So to jump right into things, you're running for re-election for mayor again. And I first wanted to know, as a country, we're at unrest. Why is this important to you?
Well, it's important to me, Fancy, because we started our journey in 2017. First, let me kind of set up some things. When I started, we came out of a 2016, a year of trauma. And so those issues, those crises, those challenges that took place in 2016 carried over into my term as mayor. And so in 2017, I hit the ground running with what we were describing as transformative leadership in some trying times. And so we started with police reform. We then went into addressing our drainage issues. Then certainly we continued by dealing with our transportation and roads issue. And so we started a journey of transformation and transparency in my first term. And I believe that we have certainly made some tremendous progress with our MOVE EBR program, the largest infrastructure program in the history of Baton Rouge, with our drainage issues that respond to the flood of 2016, and with our police reform, which is certainly was a very prevalent issue before and now as well. And so I want people to think about 4 years of their lives. You may have established goals in the 4 years of your life, accomplished some of those goals, and are still working on those goals. I believe, as a city parish government, as the leader of the city and parish, that we have certainly made tremendous strides. We have certainly connected to my vision of peace, prosperity, and progress for everyone, sowed some great seeds. And so we need to move 4 years forward on those achievements and a future vision for our community.
Okay, and yes, I was going to mention, because I noticed as you were noting all the things that you came in right after that, you didn't mention the flood, but then I see that you mentioned it like later on. So the flood was also in 2016. So it was a really crazy time for you to for your administration to come in. One thing that I did see, and since you mentioned the trauma, it made me think about as I was visiting the website, I saw something about Baton Rouge being a trauma city, and I wanted more information on that. Can you elaborate on that a little for a minute?
Well, we were able to secure a grant, the recast grant, because of it was a national federal grant that was designed for cities in trauma. And so, and to bring healing, and not only bring healing, but to tangibly address those issues through community-based partners and organizations. So, for example, as you said, and I will enumerate them, the trauma that we experience. And let me just back up and say this, Fancy. As the mayor president, I have become enlightened about the impact of trauma on a community as a result of what took place in 2016. We had the Alton Sterling killing. We had the killing of the police officers. We had the Great Flood. So all of that compacted in a year certainly takes its toll on a community, not only from a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view. So the recast grant is designed to address the mental trauma, the physical trauma that has impacted our city and parish just from that year. Now think about it. That is why we say this past 4 years has been a season of crisis for our city. Not only working on those issues from 2016, but think about it. Just this year, we have had a pandemic, more trauma. You know, just this year, I have had to stand up our Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness because of potential weather events, such as hurricanes, more anxiety. So this grant, the recast grant, is connected with organizations within our community that are connected, I should say, directly to different circles in our community to help work through the trauma.
Got it. Okay. And actually that makes a lot of sense. And actually, I think when I asked that question, I didn't know that it would go so deep, you know, but having been here, living in Baton Rouge for quite some time, I've kind of witnessed a lot of those things. And then that also just brings me to my next question, because, and I didn't intend to go straight into all the hard questions, but it's just like we were already there when you mentioned trauma, and we talk about trauma and mental health and things like that a lot with the magazine already as it is. But one thing that I also noticed is Baton Rouge was actually listed, I think, what is it? It's number 23 is out of the 32 safest cities to live in from those that were taken into this report. It was a report that I saw from the Advocate, but it wasn't originally by the Advocate. And then I also read that Baton Rouge stats had dropped as far as crime last year. But the thing is, like, it's good when you're reading those numbers, you know, but like I told you, I live in the 70805. So when I'm here working from home every day, you know, and I'm hearing gunshots just at the most random times, or I'm, you know, working again, and I'm getting all these notifications about the different murders that have taken place, and they're like, we're right in between it, you know, it's really scary. And I just wonder, you know, like with should you be reelected, you know, what steps or what actions would you take to work on those things?
And you bring up a very valid point. You know, everyone, regardless of where they live, is concerned about crime and public safety in our community. You know, Eric Holder, who was the Attorney General under former President Barack Obama, said that violence is something that affects communities big and small and people of all races and all colors. He described it as an American problem. An American problem. Mm-hmm. And I have added to that it is a complex problem. So let's talk about where we are and where we want to be and where we are going as it relates to crime and public safety. First of all, you're absolutely right. Our numbers in terms of violent crime and homicide were going down in 2018 and 2019. What happened in 2020? Actually, we were on a trajectory at the beginning of the year. I never will forget, in my State of the City address, I talked about how we were in January, we expected a decrease and a continued downward trend as it relates to violent crime. What happened in 2020? The pandemic, COVID-19. Now, Fancy, if you pick up newspapers like the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and others, you will find headlines that speak to an uptick in crime all over America connected directly to COVID-19. Now, I have said to break that down, it takes a psychologist, sociologist. It's a complex.
I get it.
It's a complex issue, but that is one of the reasons. Now, as a leader, I don't just stop there and say, okay, we've got an uptick in crime because of COVID-19. No, I continued the work to see how we can decrease crime. So, since I took office, we have been working to invest and improve our police department and our connection with the community. So you hear a lot of conversations around policing right now. We have a robust community policing initiative. We had already, prior to COVID-19, gone to hundreds of communities and engaged with them. In addition, many of the issues that you're now hearing around police reform, we started that. Use of force policies, we put it in 2017 in our police department. De-escalation, we implemented it. Implicit bias training, we implemented it. Funding body cameras, we implemented it. So we were ahead of the game already in terms of addressing many of these issues. So we have enough police officers, according to studies, for a city our size. But public safety and crime is more than just the police department. So remember, when I talked about it's a very complex problem, we all recognize that communities need other responses to crime. And so that's why I'm working, and hopefully the city council will be in agreement with investing our CARES Act funding dollars for community-based public safety as we anticipate rolling out a safe, hopeful, and healthy initiative. You're right. A lot of the crime that we see taking place is in 70805 and 70802. So what we want to do is to interrupt the cycle of violence in our communities, specifically those that have been riddled with violence. And so to address the social outcomes, it's as I said, a complex formula to crime, but we want to work on school-based outreach, community health outreach, and violence intervention. That is the path forward that we want to pursue. And I will tell you that just this week, the federal government has indicted several individuals who have been involved in violent crime in our community. So the law enforcement has a task force working on this. We are working on it from the local level, and I do anticipate better days ahead as it relates to having and building a safe, hopeful, and healthy community.
Got it. And I actually, I mean, just, you know, I'm not saying this just because we're doing an interview, but those points that you made, the plans of action actually sound reasonable to me, you know. And I think I do agree that COVID has played a major part in things. And then also I wanted to share with you some comments that have been made, or just kind of show those on the screen. So Aaron Love says, I believe people experience vicarious trauma hearing gunshots. She also said this was the one. This is true. This is true. Stress, pressure, and life-changing circumstances. So she agreed with you there as well. But she also, before you got to the point, I was like, look, Erin was already on it. She said people need alternative means to respond. And so you also suggested that as well. So, you know, like if we had some little dings, you had some points there, Mayor Broome. Yeah. So also you mentioned the children, and you mentioned education. So I wanted to know, what is your vision for educating Baton Rouge's bright minds moving forward?
I love that question. And as you know, as someone who loves to teach, and although I have no direct authority over education as a mayor, I certainly have to be concerned about everything that impacts quality of life for the citizens here. And education does do that. So what we initiated from my shop is, first of all, we started our Cradle to K initiative, which is designed to empower parents with their children once they are born to the time they're 3 years old. And then we make the connection from that time to our Head Start program. We are one of few cities in Louisiana that has a Head Start program that the city parish runs. And so I believe early childhood development, empowering parents when they first have their children, and putting their children on a trajectory of success early on is critical to the overall educational, academic outcomes, and just overall life outcomes of our young people and our children. Secondly, we have implemented, with a partnership with Southern University, LSU, BRCC, and our school system, the Capital Promise Initiative. And that is where we are going into schools when students are in middle school to encourage them, to give them resources, direction, so we can connect them on a path of higher education to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks. So those are two specific initiatives that we are involved in, that we will carry on into the next 4 years as well.
And just out of curiosity, how would people, learn more about those, or are they offered? How, basically, how would you hear about this information?
We want to connect as many parents with our Cradle to K initiative. So if they go to the city parish website, brla.gov, they can find information on Cradle to K and get connected with it. They can also go to brla.gov to find information on the Capital Area Promise Initiative.
Capital Area Promise Initiative. Okay, let's stick that in right quick. Okay, and since we, of course, it's really like COVID is still gonna continue to come up throughout the situation. What would you say, because I also saw as a part of your agenda was to add 5,000 jobs to the Baton Rouge area in the next 18 months. And so in what ways would you make this happen?
So those 5,000 jobs can certainly still become a reality. A lot of our vision and goals were pre-COVID, right? And so COVID-19 has certainly caused us to massage and adjust many of our goals. Before COVID-19, from an economic development point of view, we were on a trajectory of increase in jobs, opportunities, et cetera. Our economic outlook was very bright. Because of COVID-19, our recovery will probably be very visible by 2022. But in the meantime, what are we doing to empower our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, individuals who need employment? So first of all, we have a program, EBR. This is for individuals who may be seeking employment and want to get certified in a particular area and then connect directly to employment. So what we do with EBR is we connect the employees with potential employers by providing training that the employers are looking for in a workforce. So if individuals want to know about those opportunities, they can go to brla.gov and look up Employ BR. Secondly, we know we have a number of entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur who, still want to stand up in the midst of a pandemic. And so we have right now some resiliency grant opportunities that we have through a public-private partnership, and that is being implemented for us by the Urban League. So for example, if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, you meet the criteria, you can get a small micro grant to help you with some of maybe the bills that you have, etc. And that can be found, our resiliency grants, on the Urban League's website. And so I'm going to keep encouraging businesses to come to our city and parish. Just recently, I sent out letters. Let me tell you, the trending industries right now are the tech industry and the medical industry. So I have sent out letters to leaders in both industries, inviting them to come to Baton Rouge so we can indeed have additional opportunities for our young people and others who are seeking employment. And we've been getting positive responses as a result of those letters.
Wow. And I like that because I'm interested in tech myself. So, and I have to ask this. This was not a part of my original questions, but since you mentioned tech, one thing I've noticed about the city is that as far as like public access to Apple products, there might seem like there is none. And I think that is so important, especially for our youth. When I lived in Atlanta, even if they didn't have 5 or 10 Apple computers, there would at least be 1 to 2. That way that they could be able to, do the other things. Like the regular Microsoft or the Word computers are good for processing and so on, but for the creatives. And so if there's no free access to us with that, then, how do you really get to tap into that creativity? Now, I say that as a grown person, but I'm also thinking about the youth as well with it. And I just think that that's something that needs to be brought to light. I don't know if anybody has ever thought about it. I mean, having computer access is good, but it's still limited, You
bring up a very good point, and I'm taking note of that. I personally, I don't know, and I will look into it, what type of computers our libraries offer. But I believe you're onto something when you talk about spurring the innovative and creative juices of individuals, that there are some computers that are designed more for that type of interaction. So we should have diversity in our technology as well.
Right. Okay. So, and you actually answered another one of my questions without me asking that. So now one of my harder questions, what are your thoughts or feelings toward the decriminalization of marijuana and criminal record expungements for those impacted by the laws against it?
Well, already in Baton Rouge, the council has started an initiative around decriminalization of marijuana. I am a person that believes, Fancy, that we have to look at the data and research. And certainly I've had discussions even with my police chief around decriminalization of marijuana. So I certainly think that what the council has done or has started to do around that, and what law enforcement has already looked at, certainly points to the fact that many individuals are, arrested and criminalized, I would say, in many instances, unwarranted, right? So I do believe that decriminalization of marijuana has to be looked at in the grand scheme of reform. And so I am certainly very open to that. I believe that that's something we have to look at against the backdrop of criminalization, for sure. And you asked me another question, though, too.
Record expungement?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
And so there are a number of initiatives going on right now regarding record expungement. The YWCA, I believe, is working on one, and other nonprofits who are in the prison reform space, and I certainly support that. Listen, I believe that you have to look holistically at a person and at that person's record, for sure. I believe in second chances. I do believe in second chances. And unfortunately, records, records can certainly be an obstruction to people getting their life back on track. That is why in city parish government, we have implemented ban the box. So that helps us employ individuals in city parish government. So I believe all of those initiatives that you mentioned certainly help individuals get their lives back on track without having those obstructions. We talk about poverty, unemployment, etc. We've got to put people to work. And once again, we have to holistically look at an individual, and then I believe certainly make decisions that help integrate them back into society. I want to see people get their lives on track and have a thriving and successful life. And one bad situation certainly should not be a deterrent to that.
Right. I totally agree. And I also see Aaron said exactly, people need opportunities, which, I think we all can agree with that. So before we wrap up, basically, like, why should we vote for you? What is it? I know you've actually, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but you've actually kind of checked the box as we've gone through everything. So you've already have a lot of things in place, but from your personal thoughts, why should we vote for you?
Well, first, Fancy, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to your audience. And I'm so, I am inspired when I see young sisters and young brothers like you who are following your passion and connecting to your purpose. I believe you show part of the positive fabric of Baton Rouge. And so thank you for what you do. It's been said that you can really tell the character of a leader during times of crisis. And as I have shared, we have had a number of crises, but I have not been missing in action. I have been up front and center on everything. And so, we have responded to the challenges that have been placed in front of us, but we have not lost sight of accomplishing goals. That keen focus that we've had on initiatives like police reform, like our historic Move EBR program, the largest infrastructure program in the history of Baton Rouge. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about all the successes that we have had as we have invested in communities like North Baton Rouge, which was one of my pillars, making sure that we invest in disinvested communities. And so now we have projects like the Howell Place Medical complex, like the Plank Road Corridor Project, like the Ardendale Choice Neighborhoods projects that are distinctly lifting up and empowering communities of disinvestment. I also have to say that one of my pillars has been equity and inclusion. And so with that being said, we have made sure that we have had equity in business seminars so our business people can be a part of everything that takes place, regardless of the color of their skin or the zip code that they live in. We've made sure that access to healthcare has taken place with initiatives like the How Place Project, like the Airline Highway Emergency Room, and now Baton Rouge General. We have been front and center in a COVID-19 response. I have been leading and guiding our city through that. While some of the decisions have not been popular, such as a mask mandate, I have put the well-being of our citizens at the top of our list while still looking at our economy. So we've done transformative work over the past 4 years that will last for generations to come. And I want to continue this to address the needs of our community, to build on what we've done in moving 4 years forward.
Okay. And I must just say, thank you for the mask mandate. Some of us really do appreciate it, and we, value our health and our safety. And I realized I did not ask you our famous question, so we got to do that just before we wrap up. So how would you describe your swagger? What makes Mayor Broome Mayor Broome?
I believe my swagger is my love for people and demonstrating that when I encounter my relationships. And so I guess that's it. I'm a baby boomer, so I have to really think about questions like that. I think I need people to tell me what is my swagger. Is it the, I think about Maya Angelou's, is it Angelou's speech, or poem, I should say, Phenomenal Woman. When I think
that's what was coming to mind when you said that.
Yeah, my swagger is couched in her poem. Somewhere in that poem is your Mayor President, Sharon Weston Broome.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me, Mayor President Weston Broome. I said it correctly, right?
Yes.
Okay. I had to do that. I just wanted to make certain just before we close out, I get it correct this time. I think I was a little nervous in the beginning, but I have enjoyed speaking with you. And I guess we'll just see what happens at the polls. You all also, let me just run her banner by just quickly, because I do want you all to know, and you can tell them as well where they can find you, where they can find more about your campaign. And
absolutely. First of all, I want to encourage everyone to early vote. It's vitally important that you vote. So don't let that November 3rd deadline of election day get by you. You can early vote right now. And if you want to find out more about my campaign, you can go to my website, MayorSharonWestonBroome.com. You can go to my Instagram page, which is Sharon Weston Broome, or you can go to our Facebook page which is Sharon Weston Broome. So please interact with us. Hit me up with an email, even if you want to ask me a question or connect with me through mayorbroome2020@gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a great day, and peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings to you too, Fancy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Look, I forget how to do this, y'all. Don't forget, this is a new platform for us. So I just kind of closed out. I did not mean to just close out that way. And I'm thinking I'm actually closing out altogether. But thank you all for tuning in and watching this live segment with us. I appreciate the mayor's office as well as the mayor for taking the time to speak with us. They really meant so much. Like, it is very important to be able to have, just to take part in such a important process for the city right now. So again, you all can find more about Mayor Weston Broome on her website at mayorwestonbroome.com. And you can also follow her on Instagram at Sharon Weston Broome. And again, thanks you all. Peace and blessings, and have a great day.